I suggest that we are going to start. Again, welcome everybody on this webinar that we have today, and I'm really pleased that so many people are joining this webinar. So thank you very much for taking the time. So today we will be talking about the Redpoint brand, which is now part of the Trillium Flow Technology family. Today Jiske van Dura is joining me, so he's also doing a specific part of this webinar. Jiske van Dura is our business development manager. He's been with the company for more than 12 years. He has a tremendous background in valves, from a technical point of view and also from a commercial point of view. So he is mainly covering the Canadian market and specific countries in Europe. And yeah, he's always very keen actually to work on these non-commodity valve requirements. And the more special it gets, the more excited he gets. So that is really something that is typical for Jiske. So my name is Fred Jensen. I'm the general manager at Redpoint. I'm also working for more than 12 years with the company. And yes, as manager, I have the honor to manage this beautiful company over here in the Netherlands for already close to 2 years. And yeah, that's really excited. So yeah, let's continue with the presentation. Today we're gonna discuss then the Redpoint brand, which is all about fast track valve solutions. But before we do, we first start with Trillium. Let me see, where are we? Yep, second. Okay, here we go. So yeah, Redpoint is part of Trillium Valve Technologies. Within the group, we focus actually on pumps like the Begemon pumps, the Gavianetta pumps, WSP pumps in the US. So that this is of course a very exciting market as well. We have facilities in Fresno in the US, and we also have 2 facilities in Italy where they produce these pumps. As you can see, we are more connected to the valves and actuators. So a couple of other brands that we have within Trillium Flow Technologies is Edward and Morel, more the engineered check valves, Black Boa, Hopkinson's, and also Sarazen, which are pressure safety relief valves. And then, of course, Redpoint alloys, which are tailor-made valves, and that are the valves that we are going to discuss today. So over here you see the history of Trillium Flow Technologies. I will not go through all the years because I would also take the time into consideration. But you can see that we have quite established quite a legacy over the last 150 years or even more. So the first valve from Black Boa is back from 1828. Then we have developed more valves. We have started different type of pumps. We continued over here in these years in the nuclear industry by developing safety valves and other valves. More in the 2000s, we worked on some more isolation valves. And over here, actually, in 2020, Redpoint was acquired by Trillium, and we continued under this group. And also in 2021, Thermomeccanica Pumps in Italy was also acquired by Trillium. So a very interesting company with a lot of knowledge in the oil and gas industry, in the nuclear industry, and in the chemical industry. And this is also quite a big advantage for Redpoint. So let's continue with Redpoint. So before I start with the markets, I would like to share a little bit more about Redpoint. So Redpoint is already for 36 years in the market. We are based in a city called Zoetermeer in the Netherlands. This is a city close to Rotterdam. and to Amsterdam. So from a logistic point of view, we are very well positioned. We have about 50 people who work at the company. Within the company, we have people in engineering, of course. We do all the production in-house, also the assembly and the testing. But I will discuss it also a little bit later. If you look at the markets that we serve, then it's really focused on the upstream market and on the downstream market. So in the upstream market, we're really focusing on the oil and gas industry, and in the downstream market, we focus on the chemical industry and on the petrochemical industry. We have also developed some specific lines for some specific other industries, like the LNG market. So we are able to produce cryogenic valves in the bowls and gates, etc. We also have developed angle globe valves for the fertilizer industry. This is an industry where you have a lot of corrosive medium. So you really have to take care, choose actually the right material and the right design for this application. We also have a broad range of valves for the PTA industry. So PTA's industry is where they make plastics, for example, for the bottles, but also for clothes. This is also a very corrosive medium that is being used. And for this industry, we offer our titanium ball valves mainly, with some special designs. We also have the API 6A monogram. So we can also produce those valves up to 10,000 PSI. And of course, we also have valves which are suitable for the oxygen industry, where, for example, cleaning and also design is very important. So in a nutshell, it's the upstream and the upstream and the downstream, and then also specialized in some specific markets. Well, if you look at Redpoint and the way we are positioned, then we see ourselves as a so-called true valve manufacturer. And for us, the definition is that we design the valves ourselves, we produce the valves ourselves, we do the assembly in our shop over here, and also do the testing over here. So other companies might only do a little bit of design and perhaps the assemble and outsource everything. We, as Redpoint, we try to keep as much as possible in-house to maintain the quality, but also to be able to respond really fast to the market. So why are customers approaching Redpoint? Well, it's basically based on these three criteria. The first one is we are able to supply valves with a very short lead time. Those lead times can range between 6 to 10 weeks. We are also able to make the valves in the standard materials like carbon steel and stainless steel, but also in the more exotic materials like the nickel alloys, like titanium and like zirconium. So that's a big plus for our customers, because if they have a special requirement with different type of valves and also in different type of materials, then we are the one-stop shop for them, as we are able to make basically all those valves in all those different materials. And the last criteria why customers or people are working with us or companies is we really focus on those non-commodity valves. So we define a commodity valves as the basic valves, which are produced more in the mass production to reduce cost as much as possible. So let's say the 1-inch 150 pounds carbon steel valves that basically every supply house, let's say, that have them on stock. We don't focus on those products. We really focus on those products which are not on the shelf, which are difficult to source, which have normally very long lead time, where we are able to make them in much shorter lead times, and very important, where those valves actually which needs to meet the requirements of the customer. So if you order a valve at Redpoint, we will start from scratch. We will buy the material specifically for your order. We will design the valve specifically to your demands, and build the valve to your valve specifications. And that's a big difference compared to all the other ones. So how does that work? How do we select, or how do our customers define if their request is a typical red point quotation or valve? Well, as mentioned, the unique selling points are short lead times, fast track, exotic materials, and non-commodity valves. So normally, I guess if you are looking for a valve, then the first thing you will do I have it in stock, or can I find this valve somewhere from stock? Well, if that's not the case, then you get a lead time perhaps from 20, 30, or 40 weeks. But you probably will go back to your customer and you will ask, okay, can you wait for 30, 40 weeks? If they say, no, I cannot wait for 30 weeks, I need to have this valve within less than 10 weeks, then this is a typical red point request. The other flow is, okay, again, we're going to look, is this valve on stock? Yeah, we found a valve somewhere on stock, but then you look at the specifications from this particular valve and you compare them to the valve specification of your customer or of your application, and then you see, well, there are some deviations. Well, can you accept those deviations? If you say, no, I cannot accept these deviations, these valves need to comply to the specifications that I have, then again, this is a typical red point request. So you can think about, it has to be a metal seated ball valve with an extended stem within a specific temperature range. That are really applications where we can help you. But if you see that the valve is on stock, that all the deviations are also accepted, then red point is basically not your first choice. So we will always ask these type of questions to you just to make sure that we are working together with you on the right opportunities, and to make sure that that we are capable of winning these opportunities. Well, besides this flow, you know, if you can see if the valves are on stock or not, we can also look at different applications, because again, we focus on those non-commodity valves for the more severe applications. So, for example, in a severe service, if you have an application with high temperatures, if you are talking about fertilizer valves, or in an acetic acid situation, you know, these are valves which need more attention in a lot of cases. And we can give that attention, because again, we designed the valve from scratch based on your requirements. So again, we can help you with that. And in some other situations, if, for example, an OEM company is not anymore willing or capable to make a particular valve, then we can also help you out. I mean, we have, of course, a lot of plants globally around the world, which are from a specific age, and sometimes a specific OEM manufacturer doesn't exist anymore, or doesn't have this particular valve line anymore. And in those cases, we can help you actually to solve that issue. So before I ask Jiske to continue with the webinar, I would like to show the product range, because that's another plus, I guess, in our opinion. We really have a large variety of valves that we can offer. So we can offer the ball valves, we can offer gate valves, globe valves, check valves, double block and bleed valves, automated valves, and tailor-made valves. So where other companies perhaps only focus on ball valves or only focus on gate globe checks, we can offer the full scope. So this is also interesting for you, I guess, because now you just can send your full requirements with all your engineered valves to us, and we can offer all those valves in different sizes, up to 4,500 pounds, and also within temperature ranges of minus 196 and plus 860. So, Jiske, if you can continue with the presentation regarding the more detailed discussion about all the valves, that would be appreciated.
Yes, thank you, Fred. And thanks everybody for joining the webinar. Just a reminder that you can ask questions in the Q&A section of the webinar if you have any questions about the part Fred just told, or what I'm going to tell you right now. So yeah, my name is Jiske van Dura, Business Development Manager for Redpoint, and Fred already mentioned the product range that we offer. I just wanted to go a little bit deeper into it, and starting with the ball valves. So yeah, the production that we do for ball valves is very wide. We do the floating ball valves where, of course, the floating ball is pushed against the downstream seat. The Trillium mounted ball valves where the ball is Trillium supported and the upstream seat will provide the isolation onto the ball. So these Trillium mounted ball valves can also be supplied in different types of seat configurations, the DBBs or with the self-relieving seats, but also double isolation and bleed with double piston effect seats, or so to say the bidirectional seats. We can supply them in with 3-piece bodies, 2-piece bodies, even top entries. So all these configurations, depending on what the customer wants, we can provide. Soft seated, for example, PTFE or modified PTFE for low pressure applications, and PEEK for higher applications. Of course, many other seats nowadays on the market, such as Devlon or nylon. So those kind of things we can provide. And for the higher temperatures or abrasive media, metal seated is also available from us, whether it is chromium carbide coated or tungsten carbide coated. So there are different options. We can provide them with levers, with gearbox, with actuators, even 3-way valves. Sometimes we even get requests for 4-way valves, so these can all be engineered to your specification. Bidirectional as a standard, but sometimes unidirectional is required. And yeah, of course, there are many different end connections that you can use, which we can provide, from flange to butt weld or threaded, or even with hub ends. So for the gate valves, yeah, gate valves are available from us with the standard wedged configurations, flexible wedge for the larger sizes or solid wedge for the smaller sizes. We can also manufacture, for example, true conduit or parallel slide type of gate valves, which have even less flow obstruction. We can provide them with the bellow sealed for taking away the possibility of leakage to the stem packing. Bolted bonnet is of course standard, but for the higher pressures, you also see a lot of requests for pressure seal bonnets, but that is something we can supply. But also welded bonnets, and again with all the actuation or end connections that you need in the market. So with regards to the globe valves, well, globe valves are also widely used in plants, and yeah, our strength lies in the on-off types, but there are also applications where clients want to have them as a throttling type or a sort of regulating type. So yeah, we do not really produce the really cage guided control valves, but regulating globe valves with the regulating disc, we can supply. Our engineering department can calculate various characteristics of the discs, so you can have them with an equal percentage or a linear flow pattern. Yeah, and for globe valves as well, you can have them as bellow sealed. We can make them in a straight type, more standard, or a Y pattern for less flow obstruction, even 90 degrees angle types. So these configurations are all possible. Also with pressure seal bonnets, bolted bonnets, and all the various end connections. So the check valves. So check valves are available in many different types, and more are being brought up into the market. Of course, the more common piston check valves and the swing check valves. The dual plates for the waiver types where you need less space. Ball check valves, nozzle check valves, which have a more non-slam feature. We can produce them metal seated, but also soft seated if you want to ensure zero leakage, for example, on the check valve. Yeah, and all custom made to client requirements, and also with the end connections the customer requires. So yeah, before Fred already mentioned these strong points of Redpoint. Yeah, I think it's very good to mention this so that it's clear for everybody where our strong points lie, and that we can help the customers with the right type of valve, so to say. So Fred already mentioned that the non-commodity valves is something we focus on with the exotic materials, and yeah, we specialize in the fast track delivery of the valves. So if we go a little bit deeper into the three criteria, I have some examples. So our normal lead time is about 8 weeks. We say about 6 to 10 weeks for standard deliveries, and yeah, we can have sometimes a little bit longer if it's a large project or anything really special. But this is our focus, to supply the valves within 6 to 10 weeks to customer. And yeah, you see some examples what we did. For example, a series of 1-inch 2500 pound special stainless steel gate valves. We supplied those ones into 10 weeks to the oil sands, to an application there. And below that, you see an 8-inch 600 pound metal seated ball valve that was also supplied within 10 weeks to the client. So more special fast track applications. This particular valve that you see on the picture was a very special valve, which was part of a project we did for a power plant. Yeah, it was a scope of a gate and globe valve, so it went up to 12-inch. And yeah, it was not only that the material F11 and that it also needed to be fast track, but for all the valves, even including the 12-inch 1500 pound gate valve, they would require a bellows sealed. And yeah, that was also the first time that we come across a valve 12-inch 1500 pounds with a bellows sealed. So yeah, so we did some investigation. We had to do the engineering on it and actuation on it, electric rotor actuation. So the assembly you see on the pictures is over 3 meters high. And yeah, very special project which we supplied in 16 weeks, 5 line items. So those kind of specials are also nice to work on for us. Yeah, fast track delivery. I also wanted to mention that that in some critical applications, stamp packing alone is not enough anymore to prevent unwanted situations in case of leakage. So, for example, a customer doesn't want to have a loss of medium, or there can be a risk of pollution to the environment, or of course, very important as well, safety for the workers, danger for plant employees. So in these cases, bellows sealed valves are being used. A bellows is basically created from multiple layers of thin metal on top of each other, and on both sides there will be a weld ring. So at the top of the valve, it will be welded to the bonnet, and below in the valve it will be welded to the stem. And yeah, with that multiple thin layers of metal, you can create a spring effect for linear movement in the valve. And at the same time, you can prevent any fluid coming from the cavity towards the stamp packing, so that the stamp packing will be completely sealed off. And yeah, of course, that is very important if you do not want to have any emissions to the outside world. So we can provide them with welded bonnets, but sometimes customers also want to have still the bolted bonnet on a bellows sealed valve. So some typical applications that you see bellows sealed valves on are, for example, in steam, nuclear applications, in the power industry, an upcoming market like hydrogen. You will see a lot of bellows sealed valves. Certain cryogenic applications, thermal oil, chlorine, those kind of markets, we see these types of valves being requested. And well, the special thing is that for bellows sealed, it could be a commodity product, but in a lot of cases you see that if it is a non-commodity product, so it's not available from stock as a basic design for the more difficult applications, then it will take a very long time to get these bellows. And yeah, that's why Redpoint has decided to stock bellows. So we have a vast amount of bellows on stock for valves up to approximately 4 inch in the materials 321 stainless steel or in Hastelloy C276. And we chose those two materials because a lot of times when, for example, 316 titanium or alloy 625 is requested, the customer can also accept these higher grades as an alternative. So it's not that we cannot do it in other materials, but we have chosen to stock 321 stainless steel and Hastelloy C276. So yeah, and those valves we can supply as well within the 8-week range. That's good to know, I think. Other criterion that was mentioned was the exotic materials which Redpoint specializes in. We manufacture valves from nickel alloys such as the Hastelloy C series or B series, the Incolloys 800 series, Inconel 600 series such as 625 or 600, the Monel 400, Monel K 500, all these materials our people in the factory have a lot of experience with to machine, but also the different types of stainless steel, for example the heat resistant stainless steel such as 321, 347 or 347H with high carbon content, the duplexes, super duplexes, the 6MO. We also supply a lot of valves in stainless steel and carbon steel, which sound more standard, but a lot of times there are additional requirements on the valve or on the material, which still makes it a non-commodity product. So that's also a large part of what we do. Titanium, the different grades, grade 2, grade 3, grade 5, grade 7. We have experience with all of those. And zirconium, yeah, I don't think you will see that a lot, but it is in a niche market in mining where you see these materials as well. Yeah, zirconium is very difficult to machine. Yeah, it's really even dangerous to work with. So people over here know how to work with it because yeah, it can self-ignite when you machine it. So it's definitely also craftsmanship to work with this material or with the other materials mentioned. The third criterion that we mentioned, so non-commodity products, well, it can be, of course, special applications or engineered valves. Some valves require automation. There can be specific testing on the material or on the valve itself. Sometimes there are just a few valves missing in the project, and sometimes another supplier or a bulk supplier is declining on a certain scope, and that's also where we can step in. I will go a little bit deeper into what we mean with non-commodity. So, for example, in the oil and gas, you see the engineered valves or the non-commodity products, such as metal seated valves, very high pressure valves, bellows sealed valves. We have a range for PTA, like Fred mentioned before. We have a range for fertilizer industry, cryogenic applications, but beside that, also very high temperature valves. We go up to 816 degrees with our valves, which is basically the top of what the SME B16.34 can still validate. High pressure valves up to 4,500 pound or 10,000 psi with our API monogram, and other special surfaces such as oxygen, but also chlorine, ethylene oxide. Those are also applications where specific cleaning instructions are required for the valves. Sulfuric acid is a difficult application in some cases. So yeah, these kind of special services we can also support. So I wanted to show a few difficult processes that we work on, for example, with PTA. One slide further. Fred, yeah, sorry. Okay. So PTA, yeah, that's yeah, they call it a purified terephthalic acid with a difficult word. PTA itself is a very difficult medium. They make eventually PET with that, so the PET bottles that you see on the picture, but also it's used in the clothing industry for the fibers for your clothes. Yeah, we really look at the part where they produce the PTA because that is the most difficult part they work with, and you see that they use titanium valve because the medium is very corrosive, but it's not only corrosive, it's also very much solidifying. As you can see on the left picture, where you see the cavity of this ball valve is completely clogged up. It was not operable anymore. And yeah, we had to take the PTA out of the valve, which you can see on the picture how that looked like. But also it was so corrosive on the seats on the right, where the seat was just completely broken. And also it went into the springs of the seat holders. So those kind of problems, this service will give these kind of problems to the end user, and it can actually cause a lot of downtime for them. So yeah, we are specialized in titanium. We are specialized in making fit for purpose products, and we are now supplying valves with a specific seat material which is more resistant, with different type of springs that cannot be compromised by the media going into them. And we actually also modify valves from other manufacturers for these end users, so that they have actually a better valve in their system than before. So this is an example from a severe service that we do. Cryogenic valves in some cases are not commodity products, so sometimes there are additional requirements and compared to valves that are available from stock. Sometimes valves are from stock or are being modified, but in some cases they cannot be used. For example, if the material is special or for a special service, if there are other additional client specifications or testing or higher pressures, then yeah, we come into the picture to supply valves. And of course, cryogenic is a lot of times also a difficult service. You need to make sure that that your valve is suitable for those kind of conditions. So on the picture, you see a valve that we have designed, validated. We did a validation test according to, in this case, it was Shell 77300, so type approval test. We followed that test specification to validate this specific design to make sure yeah, our valve is fit for the cryogenic duties that it's being designed for. So yeah, a lot of temperature cycles, a lot of operation cycles, and very stringent leak rates are required to get these kind of tests. Oxygen valves, I already mentioned it quickly before. So oxygen is yeah, of course, a very dangerous medium as well. It can be in various phases, such as liquid or gaseous, cryogenic temperatures, but also very high temperatures. So it's not only the valve design that you have to do for oxygen. We follow the guidelines as well, according to the ASTM G88-90. All edges are chamfered, deburred, rounded. We make sure there's low friction in the valve and no galling. For materials, we use always fire-resistant materials. So we make sure that we use the right materials that are also properly cleaned, or we follow they call it the BAM list, which is a list that has validated soft seals in valves that you can use in oxygen service. So we are also well known with these kind of rules. And of course, the valve preparations. So when you have machined the valve, it's also very important that the valve will be cleaned properly. Yeah, we also have our own cleaning specification, but in some cases we follow the customer's specification as well. Fertilizer industry is a growing market for us. Yeah, it's a lot of challenges that you have in these services, because it's a very difficult service. For fertilizer industry, we specifically focus on a part in the process which is called where they produce urea, and also in the part where they have nitric acid and ammonia. There you see that the products are more difficult. And yeah, if you see the challenges in these processes, is that the urea process is very corrosive and also highly crystallizing. So in the design, we have to take into account that that we minimize the dead spaces in the valve, We bolsterize the stem, for example. We make sure that the stem has some kind of guide with a scraper function because of the crystals that are latching towards the stem. The obturator and the seed will be full surface stellited. We do an integral stem disc construction. All those kind of features we incorporate to make the valve fit for purpose. And also the design, next to the design, you have to select the right materials. For example, the urea grades, 316 LUG, 310 MOLN, the nitric acid grades such as 310L or alloy 1815. But also you see in parts of the process stainless steel 904L and 6MO valves. So those kind of things, sometimes super duplex. So yeah, we have a lot of experience. Heating jackets are also sometimes required because make sure that the crystallization is getting less when the steam jacket heats the medium. Automation, also mentioned that we can do automation. A lot of times customers from us can do automation even better than us. They do it on a daily basis. Some of the supply stores, of course, have the added value that they can take care of that for the end user. But if required, we can do it. We are familiar with the Scotch and Yoko, the rack pinion actuators for quarter turn valves, the pneumatic linear valve, for example, for globe valves or multi-turn electric that you sometimes see for globe valves or gate valves. So those kind of things we can also supply and assist with if required, and if the customer cannot do that. So yeah, testing on a valve, it's of course important to make sure your valve is fit for purpose. You have to prove that to the customer. You have to follow their specifications. And a lot of times we of course follow that where we can, and most of the time we can do it. So for example, non-destructive testing such as ultrasonic testing, radiographic testing on the raw material itself, PMI, so positive material identification. You do that with the gun, as you see that on the top left on the picture, where you measure the chemical composure of the material. Surface examination such as liquid penetrant examination or magnetic particle examination. We can do extended hydro testing. Some customers require that on the valves to have a certain amount of extra time on the test bench to make sure that the valve is according to their specification. We can do fugitive emission testing, even production testing we can do even in-house with us. High pressure gas testing, also high temperature testing, even fire safe testing we have a lot of experience with, of course, on our valves, mostly ball valves. And also low temperature testing, but on the material itself, you see a lot of time testing requirements, for example, for duplex, corrosion testing, impact testing at certain temperatures maybe, or in different directions. And at the bottom you see ferroxyl and phenanthroline test. That was a test most people don't even have heard of, but yeah, we came across it for a customer that required titanium valves, and we also had to find out what kind of tests these are. But yeah, we figured it out, and we did these tests for the customer. And to explain, it is certain testing on titanium material where you measure the iron contamination of the material. So strange testing that we come across, but we do not walk away from that, and we always try to help the customer as best as we can. And sometimes when you have to complete a total package as a buyer, where you see that there are a lot of carbon steel in low temp carbon steel valves on there, but there are some valves that are more difficult to obtain, can have a very long delivery time in alloy 625 or in titanium. So yeah, that can hold up your process, and in that case, we can provide a quality solution to make sure that you have those kind of special valves in a quick manner as well. Sorry. And non-commodity valves. So sometimes we see that the bulk supplier is declining to a customer. There on the picture, for example, you see a valve that came out of a system from one of our clients, and yeah, they didn't have a drawing. The manufacturer did not even exist anymore. So we actually reversed engineered that valve. So we did the measurements for the outline dimensions. We made a valve with the same specific function for the customer, and yeah, now they have a new valve which is good for the process for a long time. And yeah, those kind of challenges we also like to do.
Yeah, indeed, challenges. That's what we really like. Well, thank you, Jiske. And again, people, I would like to encourage you to ask questions. I already see some questions in the Q&A, and we will definitely discuss them at the end of this webinar. Yeah, I think what you see is that Redpoint, of course, is really focused on those short lead time opportunities where somebody is really looking for a valve on the short notice. But we are also on the other end specialized on large projects. And if you are working on a project, then it is most likely that Redpoint is not really a good fit in the beginning of a project. So, for example, where if you start with MTO1, where the bulk material is ordered, which are in a lot of cases quite standard valves at very low cost, where it is really driven about price, then that is not really a really good fit for Redpoint. Redpoint really is more used, actually, let's say 3 to 6 months prior to the startup of a large project. So in those cases, you will see that some valves are missed, or that due to some re-engineering, new valves are required with some more special requirements. And that's really where Redpoint steps in, because again, we are able to supply those valves with a very short lead time, and also all according to your valve specifications. But also, if you have, for example, a fertilizer project, a PTA project, and if you already see, let's say months ahead, that you really need some more engineered valves, and if you would like to have more, short lines to an engineered company, then we can also help you with those requirements. So having said that, we also would like to share some feedback from the customers that we serve and how we go to market. So this was one of the requests that we got. Okay, can you make a ball valve, 12-inch, 300 pounds in material A350 LF2? We said, yes, that's possible, but it's not really a very special valve in our opinion. But then they said, well, the point is the end connection has to be a flange tray face on one side and a butt weld on the other side. And yeah, we cannot use modified stock. So we really need to have a valve that is built according to those specifications. We said, okay, that's definitely we can do. And then also they asked, okay, can you make this valve also with an extended bonnet? Well, this is the result. So a 12-inch ball valve, Trillium mounted, with a flange on one side and a butt weld on the other side, including an extended bonnet. And so this is the typical example of a valve which is not on stock, and especially if it needs to meet your requirements, this is something for Redpoint to help you. Another question we get the other day was, can you make metal seated ball valves in super duplex F53 material? And then we need to have it in 10 weeks. We said, okay, but how many valves? And then they said, well, we need 21 valves. And then they also got some other specifications, like needs to comply with Chevron specs. We need to have sealant bolting, and it needs to be painted as well, by the way. So we sent a quotation back within 24 hours, and after 10 weeks, this was the result. So the 21 valves with sealant bolting, metal seated, and all ready to be shipped to the customer. Another question we got is, can you also do casting? Well, Redpoint is really known for valves being produced out of forgings, but we also have started to develop castings, but then only castings in the more exotic materials. So this application, a 4-inch swing check valve in C276 and another swing check valve, 6-inch in alloy 31, well, that are really exotic materials. And yeah, we built the castings, well, first the patterns, then the castings, we did the machining, and this was the result actually of this request. And then another question, can you make inline check valves? You know, Jiske explained, we have swing checks, we have the nozzle checks, we have the piston checks, but yeah, we also can make inline check valves. So on the left-hand side, you see some smaller ones. This is roughly 3-inch, and on the right-hand side, this is, if I recall correctly, was an 8-inch valve, 1,500 pounds, an inline check valve. So also something we can offer to you. Another example, a globe valve in C4 material. Well, this is the result. This was part of a large order. This was only one line item, over more than 15 valves only in the C4 material. But we also made these valves in a 2-inch and a 3-inch for the same customer, all in C4, including the trim in C4. So yeah, basically, I guess what we would like to show is that we are capable to make a lot of different valves, meaning ball gate globe checks, but also check valves with a steam jacket that you can see on the right hand corner, and also valves on the left hand corner, which are 3-way ball valves, for example. So yeah, a lot of interesting valves that we can offer to the market to help them. So how can we help you? Well, our goal is always to respond within 24 hours and to present a quote within 48 hours. And we know that you are in a hurry, so we really would like to help you as fast as possible. As you can see, we have a lot of technical expertise. You know, Jiske, he's well trained and educated, and also his colleagues are on the same level. And we also, of course, have our engineering department. So if required, we can set up Teams meetings or live meetings to discuss your technical requirements. Which is really exciting, in my opinion, is the broad product portfolio. So we have ball valves, gate, globe checks, and that's really a big plus for all our customers to help them. Well, we can offer forgings and castings, so that also creates some more opportunities, for example, for you to complete your package. And yeah, you know, we try to be fast in the process and in order execution, and also, of course, communication is very essential. Also, not only during the quotation phase, but also during the order phase, we will continue to provide updates to you on how is everything proceeding, or if we need to discuss some technical points, then we try to be fast and keep you informed about everything. So yeah, this brings us to the end of this webinar, and I would like to check a couple of things. I do see some questions over here. So the first question is, are choke valves available in Redpoint or other brands in the Trillium product range? They are, as far as I know, available within the other Trillium brands.
Yes, I know, for example, sorry, Fred, that the Blakeborough, for example, is can help with specifically with choke valves. So yeah, that is possible.
Yeah, so please check the website trilliumflowtechnologies.com, and you see basically all the brands that we have in valves and also at pumps, of course. So the other question I have, apart from Redpoint, what are the other brands you carry? Are catalogs available for all brands? Yes, they are. Please check them on the website again, where you can see all the brands of the materials. Oh, sorry, all the brands that we carry, including the brochures. And then another question I see is product support and sparing available.
So Fred, maybe you can go back to that slide with all the brands just to
yeah, that's a good question.
Show. And I think for product support, yeah, and sparing, I think sparing is required with spare parts. That's how I'm interpreting it.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, so from that point, absolutely. But I know that for the other brands within Trillium, that is also possible to get product support. So there are also always people from sales or from technical side available to support with the products, and of course to supply spare parts, as every manufacturer should be able to do for a long time after supplying.
Correct. So that are the questions I have. Did you see other questions, Jiske?
Yes, well, one of the questions was already quickly answered, was if Trillium has an F4N status. As far as I know, that is to do with the nuclear applications. So Redpoint has been part of Trillium for a few years. We are starting to get more acquainted with the nuclear side. We have done projects in the past with nuclear recycling facilities, but we do not have an F4N status. But yeah, probably Trillium might have more, because Trillium as a company with all the other brands have been very strong in the nuclear market for much longer, even far before we joined Trillium. So they have a lot of experience in the nuclear side. So yes, please reach out to one of the salespeople from Trillium or to me, so I can redirect you to the right person if you have anything specific you need on a nuclear from a nuclear application. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
So somebody is also asking if our Houston operations provide all the products, support and sparing as the UK operations. So yes, that is true. They provide the same support. Everything is has the same policies, the same company. So yeah, the same support and spare parts and things like that will be also available from our Houston operations.
Exactly.
Somebody is also asking for SIL rated valves. So yeah, that is actually an actual topic for us for some projects. SIL rating is of course something that is not very common to do on valves, more on yeah, let's say electronical components. But SIL rating is possible, but it's definitely not standard. We of course produce valves to client specification, and having a SIL rating on a specialty project where you make a limited amount of valves is not always within the budget, so to say, because of course having a SIL rating yeah, will require some investments. But it is possible. We know how to do it, but you always have to make an evaluation of it if you want to do it on a mechanical component such as a valve.
Exactly. Okay. I do not see other questions in the Q&A. So yeah, I would like to thank you all for joining this seminar, and was really pleased to do this presentation. If you have any questions in the future, please reach out to us. Thank you very much for joining, and looking forward to meet you again. Thank you.
Thank you.